containing many, he continues, choice melodies from eminent American and European composers. So there's a little bit of marketing copy here, letting us know that the composers represented in this book are not, just the mere tunesmiths that you might expect in some other tune books, but because this is the second half of the 19th century, some progress is being made. We've got choice melodies from eminent American and European composers. This idea that our music that we sing together should not just be American, but also European, was an innovation promulgated by the subject of the second class I'm teaching today, Lowell Mason. Sometimes we know him in the Shaken Up world as one of the so-called better music boys. And one of the reasons that he is tagged with this epithet is because Lowell Mason was very big on the idea that Americans should tap into their European heritage when it comes to their sacred music. And so a lot of music by European composers of symphonic music and concert music start to have tunes appearing with sacred words in these oblong tune books that we like to sing out of. Of course, fitted to sacred hymn tunes. Besides all of that, we have a large amount of new music, that is music composed expressly for this book, a lot of it by two people whose names we will see shortly as we proceed through this title page. Also selections from, now we got the list of concert music composers that you may have heard of, from the works of Handel, Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, Rossini, and other celebrated masters. I will point out that the first two people on that list, Handel and Haydn, are also to be found in the name the Handel and Haydn Society, which was a Boston society founded by none other than Lowell Mason. And so he founded this society, the Handel and Haydn Society, largely as part of this move to get concert music, Europeanized concert music, into the repertoire. So, these selections from the works of these great European composers have been arranged expressly for this work, along with the selection of the large amount of new music and choice melodies from eminent American and European composers and so on, by G.O. Robinson, that's George O. Robinson, who is the composer of all of the tunes that are labeled in the Christian Harmony from the Casket, and assisted by another name that you may be recognized from the Christian Harmony, that is I.B. Woodbury. So this book, The Casket, was published in Charleston, South Carolina, not too far from the area that we're in now, published by the Southern Baptist Publication Society. So let's flip over now to the preface. And we're going to get more about that was added to
We think that's marvelous.
Professor, I
We thought you went back to Charleston, South Carolina and
Actually, before we read this preface, why don't we actually sing a song out of the Casket? But we're going to sing it out of the Christian Harmony as we're going to sing most of our tunes today. Now, all of the tunes that are listed in the Christian Harmony as being from the Casket appear after page 400. Now, why is that? Rachel, you can't answer this question. Why is that a fact worth pointing out? What is the significance of
Are we looking for this?
page 400-ish of the black book that we said? Okay, that's from the Walker book. So the Christian Harmony, you may know, has kind of two branches of its family tree that come together again in this book here. That is, it was published by William Walker in the late 19th century. Some people in North Carolina still today sing out of a reprint of that original William Walker book. But down in Alabama and other areas that are away from North Carolina, this book was used a lot during the 20th century and was subject to revision by O.A. Paris and Beeson. And in the course of making those revisions, a lot of the lesser used tunes from the original Walker book were plucked out and replaced on that same page with new music by O.A. Paris, some of the gospel music that we know from the Christian Harmony. Now, why would they take out music from one page and put other music on that same page? Well, we all know that as we go from edition to edition of the book, we tend to remember songs by where they are in the book. So people tend to try to preserve page numbers as much as possible between editions. So when this kind of union edition of the Christian Harmony came out, that attempted to bring the North Carolina traditions that sang out of the original Walker book and the Alabama traditions that sang out of the Revised book together. The decision was made ultimately to keep the pagination of the first 400 or so pages, that is from the Alabama tradition, and all of the tunes that had gotten wiped out over the years by gospel songs were placed in the back of the book. So from that, we know that since all of the tunes that are from the Casket are on page 400 later, we can read a little bit of history out of that fact, right? That tells us that all of these tunes from the Casket were wiped out by the Alabama people and placed back heroically in the black book that we sing from today. So that means that these Casket tunes all fell out of fashion in Alabama, but we're going to put them back into fashion today. So why don't we start by singing, let's see, why don't we sing 101 on the top of Christian Harmony?
401.
Oh, sorry, 401 on the top. Sorry, on the bottom. I'm getting my Casket pages and my Christian Harmony pages confused. So the song that is on page 401 on the bottom is on page 101 at the top in the Casket. Now I've prepared a 3-ring binder edition of the Casket to bring with me today that y'all can inspect later on as we go.
The Casket's round nose, is that true?
The Casket, so I'm just about to show you
Sorry.
this page from the Casket that has Euphrates on the top, which is what we're singing on 401 on the bottom. You can see that this is in round notes. That's why I haven't reproduced a whole bunch of tunes from it, so we don't have to sing out of round notes, but we'll sing some chants just for fun. Now, one thing that you may be noticing as I'm passing this around before your eyes very quickly is that there are some performance instructions written on Euphrates, which I will now read to you. So at the top of the piece, it says that we should sing this with confidence, and then about halfway through it says crescendo to the end. Now, both of these performance instructions that are in the Casket have been preserved in the Christian Harmony. This hasn't happened all the time, so you're going to be able to learn some new stuff about how to perform these songs. Why don't we all start by singing the melody to this together? Now, the thing about the Casket songs is that each one of them is a little bit tricky. George O. Robinson liked, as they say, to put a little science in his music. So there's always one little thing that's a little kind of rhythmically weird or melodically weird about these tunes. So I think for today what we're going to do most of the time is sing the melody all together, and then we will sing it in parts. And that's just as a way of getting us used to how these songs go. So I'll key it down a little bit lower so we can all sing the tenor part, second from the bottom. Do, mi. Great, now it's written in 3/2. There's no rest at the beginning because this is the Christian Harmony. How am I going to start this song? Leslie, do you know how I'm going to start this song?
With it down.
I'm asking Leslie.
Well, according to Judy Cole, you always start with your hand up
Always
here.
start with your hand up
and
here.
then go somewhere.
Okay, so where am I going to go at the beginning?
You're gonna go 1, 2.
Good, I'm going to go 1, 2, and then you're all going to come in on that 3 because that's where it is written. All right, so let's hear that do again. Let's hear that mi that the song starts with. 1, 2. Mi, mi, so, mi, mi, do, la. La, do, la, so, do, mi, re, do. Re, mi, so, mi, do, mi, re. Re, mi, re, do, so, mi, re, do. Good. Let's raise that key up, and now that you know the rhythm, we'll sing this all in our parts. Do, mi, so, do, 1, 2. Do, mi, so, mi, do, la. La, do, la, so, do, mi, re, do. Re, mi, so, mi, do, mi, re. Re, let's follow instructions and see if we can build a crescendo to the end. So start with confidence, but not at the top volume, because you're going to need to save some room for that crescendo. Ready? Here we go. B, 1, 2. Your hearts be trembling, say, down from the willows take, loud to the praise of God our Lord, bid every string away. Good. Let's try that again. Number 3, 2. His praise shall to the end, stronger and brighter shine, nor present things nor things to come shall quench the spark divine. Very good. We did crescendo. Well, it does say crescendo to the end.
Yeah, but.
Doesn't necessarily say where it starts.
Question?
Yes, sir.
I saw when you were passing the book around, I saw figured bass numbers under there. Is there a tradition of
You
accompaniment?
did see figure bass numbers around there. I'm just gonna give one more pass around. Everybody, as this is going around, look at the bass part. You'll see that there's some numbers written below the parts, little 6s and a 6 and a 4 stacked on top of each other, and all of that. What this is a notation that comes from 16th and 17th century European music, where, much like today, jazz musicians will read their part off a sheet that gives the melody and then little chord symbols. In the 17th century and the 18th century in Europe, keyboard players would typically be given a bass line, and then the bass line had these numbers underneath that served the same role as chord symbols above the notes. Right? So this would basically tell an organist how to play all of the music just by looking at the bass line, or a bass line and the melody. And those numbers tell you what's going to happen in the other parts, the parts that are neither the melody nor the bass. So we don't see them a lot in the books that we normally sing out of, because the books that we normally sing out of were typically designed to appeal to people who are used to the instruction that you must have no musical instruments in your churches, right? And so even these numbers below, they suggest musical instruments enough that we never see them in our books. Except you do start to see them in music that was inspired by the musical forms of Lowell Mason and his followers, right? These people who were more comfortable with Europeanizing church music practice. Okay, so now that we've sung a little bit, let's go back and take a look at that preface and see what it says. The first thing that we should notice is who is credited with the authorship of this preface. Is it George O. Robinson? Is it I.P. Woodbury? Who is it? E.T.W. I have no idea who that is. Somebody's spent more time on this. Who E.T.W. is? Well, no, but we can assume that this person was connected to the Baptist institution that funded the publication of this book. That is the Southern Baptist Publication Society.
Ernst Theodor Weisenheimer.
There we go. Ernst Theodor Weisenheimer. It's been decided. What's that? Okay. Well, there we go. So let's just take a look at that first paragraph. I'm just going to read this aloud for you. The immediate relation of music to domestic and public worship, a solemn duty and privilege of Christians, would in itself present a sufficient inducement to a religious publication society to secure and issue a work like the present. Boy, they sure did talk fancy that. In the case of the Southern Baptist Publication Society, other circumstances also conspired to necessitate the preparation of a new book of sacred music. Many of the hymns in our denominational book, so we're already learning that this is published by the Southern Baptist Publication Society, but is not intended as a denominational book. Like many oblong tune books, this was intended for general use, both inside and outside churches. Many of the hymns in our denominational book, the Baptist Psalmody, are of a peculiar meter to which no music has heretofore been adapted. The Sacred Lute, a smaller collection of hymns now passing through the press of the Society, required also in a number of instances that new tunes should be composed or that choice melodies scattered through different volumes should be collected into one. So that is to say that there's a sort of problem that the Southern Baptist Publication Society is trying to solve, which is that their music doesn't have much reach outside of this very kind of particular denomination that has a very particular set of meters and a very particular set of music, and a connection to the wider world of hymnody and psalmody and music is sought by the Southern Baptist Publication Society. So, to this end, the Society accordingly engaged the services of Professor G.O. Robinson, an accomplished composer and experienced teacher of music in Charleston. This gentleman, anxious to make the proposed manual equal, if not superior to any previously published, secured the cooperation of Professor I.B. Woodbury, this other kind of famous name from Christian Harmony, an author extensively and favorably known through his various works, the Timbrel, the Dulcimer, Liber Musicus, which is just Latin for Book of Music, Lute of Zion, the Kithara, etc. More than 150,000 copies of one of these books, the Dulcimer, have been sold, and here's where we see all the good names related to musical instruments have been used, which is why we have to call this book the Casket. By his enlistment in the present enterprise, a large amount of copyright music has been obtained. So here we see that basically George O. Robinson made a very good idea if his task was to connect the repertory of his church and the Southern Baptist Publication Society to the wider world of popular music out there. The best thing to do is make an ally who has a lot of intellectual property that you can use, and that was I.B. Woodbury. He was this kind of popular composer of music. A lot of tunes from I.B. Woodbury found their way into the Casket, and possibly from the Casket found its way also into the Christian Harmony. There's a lot of overlap actually between these two books. Most of it currently after page 400, right? So a lot of that music that appeared through sources like the Casket into the Christian Harmony was the very music that was cut out by the Alabama people and then restored in the black edition of the book. So one of the main reasons that I'm reading this preface to you is the part that's about to come up, where there's an actual description of the repertory in a much clearer way than you often see in prefaces to two books. So the five major features, the prominent and general features of the present work, as Mr. or Ms. ETW says.
His name is Edward Winkler. That's Google.
Oh, Edward Winkler.
Edwin T. Winkler.
Edwin T. Winkler. And what was Mr. Winkler's claim to fame? I think it's still East Tennessee woman using a pseudonym.
No, he was the man who wrote the preface. There's a whole lot about him on this page.
Oh, fantastic.
What's
that?
What was he, is he a church guy? Like,
Yeah.
was he?
I just found it. I haven't read it.
Okay, so feature number one, the elements of vocal music. In this department, the greatest care has been taken to render the principles of music plain, et cetera, et cetera. So this is referring to the rudiment section that appears at the beginning of many tune books. The rudiments in this book are written by George O. Robinson himself. They have some interesting features, but not enough for us to spend much time on. Number two, psalm and hymn tunes in every variety of style. These tunes are adapted to the different meters of the psalmody and the sacred lute. So that is, not only are we using the strange and unusual, peculiar meters of the Southern Baptists, but also the very common meters that we're used to seeing, these abbreviations like LM for long meter, SM for
They
short meter.
credit the sacred lute to him, to Mr. Winkler.
Ah, okay, very good. The latter work includes in its readings references to the appropriate music in the Casket, suitable for the expression of the sentiment of each hymn. Okay, now section 2, anthems and chants, and this is actually a section of music that follows the first section of music in the book, which is mostly psalm and hymn tunes. Then we get anthems and chants, and these are much longer compositions typically. This department, says the preface, is unusually attractive, containing a greater number of examples than can be found in any similar work. So what we see in this section are, of course, longer pieces, as well as pieces that are known as chants. We sang one with Callan this morning, we'll sing a few more in just a moment. Their high artistic excellence, here we're using the rhetoric of the Better Music movement, the musical reform movements. Their high artistic excellence, usually attributable to the fact that they're written by a European composer, will commend them to the skillful musician, such as the kind that could read at that figured bass, was the numbers that we saw, while their melodious utterance will charm the ear and move the heart of the devout Christian. That is, this music that it comes to us from refined composers and is fitted with technical features that will make it appropriate for fancy musicians, will also charm the ear and the heart of the devout Christian. So in some sense, this is again music for everybody. Section 4, Sabbath School Department, containing a choice collection of hymns and music adapted to meet the wants of the young. So Sunday school music is this whole genre of music. William Bradbury is another Christian harmony figure that we associate with Sunday school music. Bradbury is the author, for example, of Jesus Loves Me, This I Know, For the Bible Tells Me So, one of the most kind of famous Sunday school tunes around. In the Casket, the Sabbath school department contains the tune Happy Land, which we all know from Shape Note World is one of the tunes that you teach to a kid often to lead for their first song. So that tradition of having music that is especially for the young is a tradition that kind of comes from the Sabbath school movement and is still with us today. And then finally we have the Revival Department. Under this head, they say, is grouped a full collection of melodies, old and new, suited to revivals and social meetings. The two last are especially pleasing features and will render the book more generally useful and acceptable. Between the lines, we can read here, psalm tunes and hymn tunes are boring, right? A lot of the psalm tunes and hymn tunes that are in the Casket are among the tunes that appear in the Black Book after page 400, whereas the tunes that appear in the Revival Department are tunes like All Is Well, O Turn Ye, Joyful, Pisgah, Garden Hymn, that is tunes that we still sing all the time today. So they were included in the Casket as sort of a Section 5 special feature, right? The Revival Department. And those are the tunes that are still popular today, even though they were kind of innovative in the context of a book like the Casket. Yes, ma'am, that's everything I have to say about the preface, so if there are questions
Would
about
the
that.
revival department be their version of what we might call renewal music?
Yeah, so the idea was that this is music that is designed, so whereas a lot of the psalms and hymns are designed to connect you to a long tradition of psalm hymn singing, the revival songs are designed to immediately connect to your emotions in a particular social context, right? So that this is music that's designed to get you filled with the Spirit, rather than to fill you with the communion of the ages and what have you.
Where is this songbook used mostly?
This songbook is not used at all
Oh,
anymore.
okay.
The songbook has not, the songbook
Casket.
it's in the
It's
Casket.
there. Where was it? Where was it used?
Why is the casket still in use and referred to, as opposed to some of these others, like the timbrel or the drum?
You do actually see the timbrel credited as a source of songs. Let's remember that this whole class, even though we're making sort of what seems a big deal about it, is because there are 5 tunes in the Christian harmony that say from the Casket. So it's not, even within Christian harmony, it's not a huge deal, it's just enough of a deal that some people have noticed it over the years.
So where was it before it passed?
It was printed in Charleston, South Carolina. So it was, and the repertoire that it contains is a kind of Carolina specific repertoire. There's a lot of overlap, for example, with the Christian harmony, which is another book from the Carolinas.
I don't know if you were gonna say this, but can I say something about the historical context?
Please do,
Okay.
especially if I've said something wrong so far.
No, I mean, you haven't said anything wrong, I'm just saying there's a little bit interesting here historically. So, this, I believe, was the first, book of this type printed in the South where they're taking the reform, like, large scale, this American reform music like the I.B. Woodbury. I.B. Woodbury was from New York, I don't know, he's from the area. And he kind of had a franchise, and of course, he would collaborate with all these different kind of local people. So he worked with Hiram Madison, who was the author of one of the really great revival books that's sort of like the revivalist book important because it is significantly, it's very significant in terms of Southern music, that he's kind of putting a stamp of this is what Southern music ought to be. This is a precursor to Christian harmony. This was one of Walker's like big five sources. So it's not just the Casket, but there's a lot of other songs that when you look at it, he couldn't have got them from another book. You know, so even though they're not from the Casket, they come into the Christian harmony from the Casket. So it actually is a very, I think, worthwhile book to study if you're interested in Christian harmony. It's much more than just this.
So it's uniquely Southern song.
Well, they're not uniquely Southern. They were composed for the Casket. Some of them are kind of more obscure Northern songs that Walker didn't have access to as far as anyone can tell. But if you look at how, this is my talk last year, but if you look at how the Christian harmony was put together, it's only like 5 books, more or less, that he used, and this is one of them. And another one would be probably another Woodbury book, like the Kithra or elsewhere or something. But yeah, and you know, it's pre-war. There aren't many pre-war books like this. And then obviously Walker was emulating this, and it's very important to him. I think Walker was working on the Christian harmony, maybe had it pretty much done in the 1850s, and just couldn't print it because of the war. Because if you look at his sources, other than the homegrown ones, they're all composed like pre-1855, something like that.
So I've always wondered how these guys chose specific songs from specific books. Well, not the specific books, but specific songs, whether it was based on the popular, how often they were led, or just the overall musical quality, or both. I mean,
Led by the Holy Spirit.
I'm going to
led by the
give
Holy
one
Spirit.
kind of which is mentioned even here is meter. So the original Christian harmony and this book is organized by meter, as the Harmonia Sacra is, and part of the motivation is that in your hymn book, your words book, you have certain music. That's exactly what he's talking about here, because the Sacred Lute is a words book, so a music book. So you had to have, you know, at least one tune for every meter, and preferably 2.
Okay.
So some of the stuff that's in the Christian harmony, a lot of it gets booted, you know, in the Alabama book, I believe was chosen to satisfy this need to have meters. So sometimes they're kind of subpar.
Good answer was, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying that there's more than these 5 songs from the Casket, but that it's in
about
the Christian harmony.
It's a lot, yeah.
So
Yeah, the overlap between these books is very large.
Right.
The particular songs that are labeled from Casket are, as far as I can tell, they are all songs that are credited to Georgia Robinson in the Casket, and that were presumably written for the Casket.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is that because Walker is not always so diligent about his attributions, my guess is that there was some specific agreement between Robinson and Walker as to.
Probably, yeah.
So the prevalence of these classical arrangements from Mozart and Haydn University in Christian harmony versus in other.
You see that in Casket as well.
Right. So that you're saying the Casket is the major source.
I'm not
Okay.
saying that's wrong.
But that's-
but I'm not saying that either.
It's fair enough.
The temporal Zion is the major source of the fountains, and the Casket is the tree.
I wonder if there's anything about the term, the casket, how it was used at that time that might have lent itself.
It was certainly used as a term for pie crusts.
It's used generally at the term for an enclosure or a package or something.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
a-
yeah.
It's also a word for a jewel box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Casket
or something
gems,
like
all these
that.
beautiful song gems.
Yeah, so I think when this book was first published, it did not perhaps sound as morbid as it does to us now.
No, I think
Leslie,
it's
did you have a
different.
I did have a question.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the back of my mind, I got the impression that the Casket had been a magazine. What was the magazine?
Oh, the magazine, you made me thinking of the organ, which there are a number of tunes in the Red Book, the same part that are said to be from the organ.
And that was a magazine.
And that was a kind of newspaper magazine periodic publication that people say that is a difference.
I've been telling them to make the Casket.
Oh, no, the Casket casket, well, now you have in front of you what the casket is. Let's sing on page 402 on the top.
Which page?
402.
There was also a new casket.
Yeah. It's almost the same. It's like the second edition.
Okay, now there are some instructions in the casket that didn't make it into the Christian harmony. Professor Robinson has instructed us to be gentle at the beginning, which is preserved. But he also specifies that when we get to the duet, we should take care with it. So sing that duet with care. And then the last two lines with more spirit. Okay? So gentle, and then when we get to the duet, I would like you to please take care. And then those last two lines with more spirit. Not just with spirit, but more spirit. Everybody, we all on the same page?
Like, has that for the alone?
From after the duet is over, after we've taken care of the duet, we all come in for the last two lines with more spirit. So actually, let's all sing the melody together because I think that's a good idea. So 1, 2. So la so do do mi re do mi do so fi so la so do do so mi re do re mi re do si la la so do mi re do. And just like all the other songs from the Casket or so noted in this book, it's a little rhythmically tricky, and it's written in triple meter. It comes in on a pickup. Okay, let's sing that all together now in our parts. So, do, si, so. Start off gently. So, do, mi, re, do, mi, do. Take care now. So, fi, so, la, so, do, do, so, mi, re, do. With more spirit. Shall we lead another one? Shall we sing Fragrance on page 416? Who wants to lead this one for us? What better do you want to lead this? You're a specialist in songs on the casket. Let's we'll all sing the melody together, okay? And then I'll leave you to do the song and sing it before. add something that's hard in it, get to the hard bit, right there at the end. Everybody got that melody? Sure you do. Let's sing, if we may, the last song that is labeled, sorry, there's not the last song, it's the second last song. This one is on page 451 on the box. Still out on page 451. So this is the song called Devotion. Now, there's a bit of a discrepancy between what's written in the casket itself and what's written in our book. And I'm going to just confirm that this discrepancy exists before I announce it. Indeed, that is there. Okay, so you see on the bottom, where it says from the casket, it says that this should be sung in a sweet flowing style. Be careful not to sing too fast. That is original to the casket. But at the top, underneath the credit to the words, John Newton there on the left, where it says flowing, you should not sing it flowing, you should sing it glowing.
Really?
In the casket, one finds instructions to be both flowing and glowing. Glowing. So, don't flow, glow. Who wants to lead this one for us?
Sorry, it's both in the casket.
It is the devotion in the casket is the instructions glowing.
But then at the bottom it says sweet flowing style.
Correct.
Yeah.
Could you show us what that looks like, please?
So actually, you should be both, I guess, glowing and flowing.
Glow with the flow.
As long as the flowing is sweet. Glowing would be hard. Who is going to lead this song for us?
Who glows?
Who glows, yeah, we need to see the colors.
We need someone who can glow,
Yeah. You want to keep it too?
not sweat.
And so we just sing the melody once through?
Let's sing the melody once through. If you sing them, my inclination is always to lead them at a particular tempo that I associate with the time signature. And invariably, as soon as I started, I wish I had led it a little bit more slowly. Because they always have those little rhythmic complications that
So we'll sing it slower than that.
We'll be careful.
More
not to sing it fast.
One, two, three, four, five.
Yeah, in my opinion, this is a song that probably would be best if it were led in three
Yeah, I was
parts.
just thinking that.
But I feel funny about leading songs written in 6 and 3. So filled with confidence.
Near my God to thee.
Exactly. Okay, now we will sing the last remaining song that is credited in this particular way, which is on 493 on the bottom. And this is probably of the 5 that we will have sung when we're done with this portion of the class. This is probably the most frequently used of those. Why? What's fun about this song?
Joyful.
There's a unison.
There's a unison part at the beginning, right? The part that's labeled joyful is a little bit unusual because all 4 parts sing in unison, which is not so unusual in choral music, but is pretty unusual in shaken music. It's a kind of Europeanism. This is definitely a kind of musical mark of the reform movement that we started in this kind of unison instrumental way. This is a way that a lot of Mozart pieces might begin. And then we break into harmony after that first phrase is done. Would you be willing to just lead the song? Sorry, I'm not pointing at you. Would you be willing to lead the song?
Sure.
So.
Are we doing the tenor again together, or should we just?
Let's just sing this in parts because it starts in unison with our unison experience. So That's right.
So, in all the
Show
ones
me the music what you want.
in all the ones that we've sung, the tenor ends with almost the exact same measure.
Yeah.
Say that again?
In all the songs that we've sung, the tenor ends in almost the same measure.
Oh, yeah. That is very much a George O. Robinsonism.
It's definitely that style.
Let's turn to page 503. Which ends differently, I'm pleased to report. This is, I suspect, if there was a deal struck between William Walker and George O. Robinson, as Rachel and I were outside of it a bit before. This may have been where the deal was paid off. This is a piece by George O. Robinson composed expressly for the Christian Harmony. This song is not from the Casket, but this may have been part of the deal to get a lot of those songs out of the Casket, was to agree to put an original composition by George O. Robinson in the Christian Harmony. Does this song get sung a lot?
No.
Anybody's experience? I'm not sure I've ever sung it.
Yeah, we're also.
Well, you're gonna sing it in camp again.
Title of
Maybe
it.
we'll sing it outside of camp one of these times. Okay, I'm a little bit afraid to leave this.
I'm scared to see.
Thanks.
This
Okay.
is a social meeting,
It is a
so don't be
social meeting.
afraid.
Okay, thank you.
Don't be afraid.
Be not afraid.
We're just gonna sing this in 4 parts. Do, actually keep that a little higher. Do, we'll try it in 4, 2, 3. Doesn't that seem like it should continue?
It must either been taught very well by his professors, that every
Right.
tune should have the same, full measures worth of notes.
Right, so you have to pick up the beginning.
Yes.
That's wild. That's.
I know, but it also just sounds like it should have another phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just leave them moaning more.
Well, we're gonna sing it as written. I think we can sing this in 2 beats. So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna also sing it back. Do, mi, so. 1 and 2.
Oh,
like
along with,
League Circulation revival songsters is from New York. And it's kind of it's a book for like the common man, I feel like. It's kind of like a four-person's book. It's very, not all that well done, and it's upright for, 1830s. It would have been cheap. And so he's taking these words, which are social meeting, like referring to this idea of social worship and camp meeting worship. So he's taking these, in some ways, kind of very low church words and making them more kind of high church.
There you go. Expressly for the Christian.
Yes, expressly.
All right. Well, so that takes us, I think, through the complete works of George O. Robinson as they appear in the Christian Harmony.
so 514 is the
That
range.
last song. When you read it, you held that last note more than one beat.
I did. Because there may be some music theory rule why he wrote it the way he did, as Rachel suggested, but
You gotta sing it.
you gotta say, we don't
Not
sing
in
short
common,
last notes.
It's not uncommon for us to hold the last note of every song,
Oh, yeah.
So Billy's bringing up.
514 is the range.
Oh, so it is. 514 is arranged.
And it's very spirited.
And in fact, this song is arranged from tune in the aforementioned dulcimer. So I forget who it was that was asking. Listen, there's your answer. So we have at least a citation to the dulcimer. I'm going to make a save this for later.
We have dynamics and everything.
Because I think it's time for us to just briefly have an excursion outside the world with George O. Robinson.
Now, one of our handouts said that we had till 12:30, the other one said just till 12.
Well,
This class goes to 12 and rudiments goes until 12:30.
I could only take an hour and 15 minutes. Casket myself. Enough for 15 minutes. Well, I want to turn to page 440 on the bottom. Just as a point of intersection between the two gentlemen that we've been talking about. So this is a tune song by I.B. Woodbury, named for George O. Robinson, and I suspect that this may be part of a similar deal as the one we just hypothesized between William Walker and George Robinson. Remember, George Robinson's The Casket had a lot of tunes from I.B. Woodbury, including one composed expressly for The Casket, which is this one, named after the author of The Casket, George O. Robinson. And that sounds kind of a bit generic in a very specific way. You'll notice that the performance indication, the Casket had a lot of performance indications on it. In the upper left there, underneath Anne Steele's name, credited there as the author of the words, it says to be sung in chanting style. And you'll kind of see what that means. This song is a kind of repetitive character. A lot of the notes are the same note in the tenor part. There's the same notes that are adjacent to each other. Those of you who were here for Callum's class this morning, we sang one example of kind of a chant out of the Harmonia Sacra, where Callum had to kind of point us to every word. Here the words have been rhythmicized, but it's the same idea. People are just kind of, everybody's first four notes are the same as each other. That's one of the things that this chanting style is referring to. Let's sing the melody all together, just the melody. So, do, 1, 2, just the melody. So, do, la, re, do, mi, re, do, fa, mi, re, do, si, la, so, mi, re, do. All together. Let's do that first chord. So, do, mi, so, 1, 2. doesn't say it's from the Casket because it isn't one of those 5 original George O. Robinson tunes. But it is after page 400, which means that there at least was a time when it wasn't very popular. In my experience dealing with Christian harmony, it isn't one of the top 100 songs in the book. But there are a couple of tunes from Casket that are not labeled as from the Casket and appear before page 400 because they do have a bit of currency. And I bet some of you have sung these songs before. Let's have a look at page 49.
This may be not the first time that Robinson's been sung since the very book.
Is that right? We'll have to consult the minutes.
Yeah. No, you don't have to.
Well, maybe this will start a wave of people saying Robinson all over the country. This has been sung a lot. Chris, you want to do this?
Sure.
You want to leave all that stuff?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So this is on page 49, Forever with the Lord, again by I.B. Woodbury. And this is a song that made, I believe, its first appearance in the Casket. Rachel, I can correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it's probably the dulcimer or the subversion.
Ah, okay.
It's 1855 would be the Casket, so 1854 means it's in something else.
Okay.
So we're gonna start with beat 1 here.
Let's have a key first.
Better.
There was one reason I wanted to sing this song in particular, even though it was not original to the Casket, is that in the Casket, everybody see the note, the very high A that appears at the end of the tenor part. Yeah. There's a star on that, and then there's a little tiny D written below that A, and if I can just find the A.
The next to the last.
Next to the last.
The last.
He's saying the original.
I know.
So yeah, toward the end of the tenor part, there's a very high note, and there's a little star on it, and
In a casket.
Oh, in the casket.
Yeah.
and Casket says, "Sing the small note if this cannot be given clear and flute-like."
All right, I'm not singing that note,
It's a very vivid book, right? So if you can't sing that high A, clear and flute-like, you can just drop it down to the D, which is a fa. It's a fa before that B. You have permission from the
Okay, so.
No.
You all know this, so probably sing it a little faster than the fourth one.
Do, so, mi. 1, 2, 3. So, mi, re, do. Do, re, do, re, mi. Mi, fa, re, mi. Do, re, mi, re, do. Do, re, do, re, mi. Mi, re, mi, fa. Fa, mi, so, mi, do, do, fa, so, do, mi, re, do. Mi, re, do. So, fa, mi, so, la, fa, mi, re, do. Those A's were so clear and
Will we flute like?
Flute-like.
Will we flute like?
Well.
Okay, so what was?
You tell me, Chris, you're leaving.
Let's just sing verse 1 in the interest of the end of the
All right, very good.
class.
Maybe we'll get around to that other song.
Forever
with the Lord, amen, so let it be. Life from the dead is in the word, is immortality. Here in the body then, as The other song that I think we want to sing it today, so we can just sing it. That is in the first half of the book, is 73 on the top, Ella's song.
Very Lisa.
I was gonna say another one.
And this one is, again, a tune that came from the Ivy Woodbury corpus from the Cathedral, in this case. Through the casket to the Christian harmony by God.
Yes,
Okay.
but Juniata.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that's one that grew up, and that's how we got it.
Okay, so help me remember for one song that I'd like to pose to that. And let's sing Crown. Does anybody know how to lead this song well? Does anybody know how to lead the song poorly?
I mean, I'll try it.
Good.
Very spirited.
Should we say blowing as well? So that would be from, I'm just going to sing the tenor part from the beginning of the second line on page 514. So 1, 2, mi, so, re, so, mi, di, la, so, mi, do, mi, do, mi, so, la, so, mi, 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 so, mi, mi, do, re, mi, fa, mi, fa, so, la, so, fa, mi, fa, so, la, so, so. Good, we got it. Let's start again.
All right.
So,
let's do 1 and 3. A little faster. 1, 2. Hark those days, the sign is glorious. See the man of sorrows now. From the fight return victorious. Every knee to him shall bow. Crown him, crown him, crown him, the victor's crown. Crown him, crown him, crown him, crown him. King of kings and victor's crown. Crown me, crown the victor's crown. Hark those bursts of acclamation, hark those loud triumphant chords. Jesus takes the highest station. Oh, what joyless tide affords! Crown him, crown him, crown him, King of lords. Crown him, crown him, crown him, crown him. King of kings and Lord of lords, King of kings and Lord of lords. I can imagine that one being fun fast once you.
That was very
Do you want to give us a
Very
short
scary.
improvised lesson on 133 and then leave it? And then close us off?
Yes, lesson, I don't know what I can say.
Just tell us your facts about Juniata.
Virgil Corridon Taylor, there were a number of books, and they all had a music, just like this, very flowery. And when I was researching the Shenandoah Harmony, I found this in this very obscure book by him, and I was like, how in the world did that get into the Christian Harmony? It was a mystery until I started looking at the Casket. Don Taylor's book, I forget the name of it, but it's early 1847, it's earlier.
But Robinson put it in the casket, and then Walker saw it in the casket and said, "I gotta have that one."
Walker, I mean, there's like 100 song overlap, I don't know if you counted, but there's a lot of songs that he got from the casket, as far as I can tell, so. Maybe if I could have a.
Do, mi, So I'm going to leave for your salutation and examination over the next couple of days. I will leave this black binder over on that black table. This is a complete printed copy of the casket. Something that you might find an interesting exercise is to just, at the end, there's an index, and in addition to an alphabetical index on one page, there is a metrical index followed by an index of songs that are in these various departments that I mentioned. And you can see some of the things that we were talking about. Look at this index. First, you will see, if you know the Christian Army at all, you'll see what that very large overlap looks like. And then you will also see something that Rachel pointed out, which is that the meters in this book appear kind of in a page order, and then all of the Sabbath school tunes are put together, and all of the anthems are put together, and so on and so forth. So this might be this is probably best enjoyed at your own leisure, which is why I'm just.
So the anthems, are they pretty interesting music, or what's your evaluation?
It's a mix, like every single one of these books, as you
All right.
expect.
Okay.
It's a mixed casket. I think we're not, because classical things. But please don't let me stop anybody from giving each other for informal chance.
Was there revisions?
There was